for those who don't know, what is 10X and how did you get started with it?
Yeah, I mean, 10X is a book that was written by the founder of our company. His name's Grant Cardone. He wrote the book in 2011, I believe. And the book is basically just about the concept of 10Xing the size of your goals, not because you want more, but because a 10X target is the only way to ensure that you build a plan that will get you what you want. So, most people underestimate the amount of effort it takes to get something done. And so building a plan around 10X. So like if you want to make $1 million, build a plan to make 10 million. Because you're going to fall short on both, and it's better to fall short on a big target than a small one. So, and for those of you watching this, my name's Jarrod Glandt. I'm the president for Grant Cardone Enterprises. I've been with it for about 10 years. Started with the company when we were in LA, had 3 employees, and today we have about 160 and do over $100 million a year in revenue and have 6 different business units that all are wildly successful. And so whether you have a tech idea and you want to start a company or you want to invest in real estate, we kind of hit you anywhere in between, help build, scale, grow, launch companies, recruit people, hire people, train people, develop people, help companies understand how to better market their business. So 10X was born from Grant, and Grant is the king of that universe.
Absolutely. And before, in your youth and growing up and whenever you're in your high school years, I'm sure it was really difficult, like any other person, to do those menial tasks, to see the long-term vision. How has 10X really catapulted you to have big vision for your future?
I think that one of the things that create the most problems for people in life is that they never actually figure out what they want, and I struggled. I know personally this because I struggled with it when I was 23, 24, 25, 26. Like I never really figured out what I wanted. People always ask, what do you want to do? And it's the wrong question, because what do you want to do for the rest of your life is a tough question to ask. But what do you want the outcome of what you do to be is something I think that people can grasp. And so it's like, okay, well, I want to be able to, retire at 45 years old if I want to. I want to have $100 million invested that pays me $10 million a year. And, I have full financial freedom. I can travel whenever I want, wherever I want, with whoever I want, however I want. I'm able to give to charities and give my time to the things that matter most and make an impact. And when you really start defining what all those things are, I think the goal is actually senior to the method. So what you want and knowing what you want is senior to understanding how you get it. Because the truth is, if you develop a strong enough connection and relationship with the thing that you want, you build passion around it, you maybe even build a little bit of obsession around it, then, mechanics mean less, and they don't get in your way. Like you just continue to pursue the goal. And then that's when people stumble into doing big and remarkable things. And so, I think that if the target's big enough, the menial bullshit that you have to go through today it's a non-event. Most people are like, man, I got to go into work today. This is going to suck. I got to do this, I got to do all this boring work and file papers and blah, blah, blah. And most of that's because they don't know how what they're doing that particular day contributes to their big goal and their big vision. And it's not because of anything else other than they haven't even decided where they want to go. So it's like trying to go on a road trip and packing the car all up, getting the family ready, filling the gas tank up, getting food and snacks for the road, and then driving and having no idea where you're going. Like eventually at some point you're going to be like, what are we doing in this car? Where are we going? Why are we driving? I hate this car. This is stupid. Road trips suck. It's because you have no idea where you're going. And that happens to too many people growing up is They end up going through college and then coming out and getting a job, and they don't know where they're going because they never decided what the destination is of the road trip. And the most successful people decide where they want to go, and they work backwards into what they need to do today in order to get there.
Absolutely. And do you think that having that mindset of like everything sucks just because you don't have a good target, do you think that poisons companies whenever those people get into leadership?
100%. Like in organizations, the same rule applies. Like if people can get lost, if they can be misguided, if they can get disengaged because they don't have targets, the same thing can happen to a company, just at a bigger scale. So the way you solve that for yourself is obviously you're responsible for yourself. So nobody's going to come and help you figure out. You have to assume, if you have a good manager, good leader, they'll do this, but you have to assume people aren't just going to come and be like, hey, you want to sit down and figure out where you want to go in your life? Like, that's your responsibility. Like, if you can't take responsibility for where you want to go in life, then you're not going to go anywhere in life. Because the first thing that you have to do to be successful is you have to accept more responsibility for the things that are going on around you. And that means no excuses. That means no blaming, like you should make everything your fault. Like everything that happens around you, you should make your fault. I don't know if a psychiatrist would tell you that that's healthy, but I just know that the most successful people are constantly looking for things around them. They're control freaks. They want responsibility because they know that they can get the ball into the end zone. And they're constantly, somebody does something wrong. It's not, man, you suck, you don't understand this. It's, man, it's my fault that I didn't teach you or develop you or train you so that you knew how to handle that problem. I get in a car accident because somebody cut me off. Damn it, if I wouldn't have left the house 12 minutes late and I would have been ahead of time, I wouldn't have been driving too fast. I would have paid attention and I would have been able to avoid the accident. But instead I was trying to drink my coffee or eat my breakfast sandwich while I'm driving, and I'm speeding because I'm late. Like, you accept responsibility for things. And so most young people refuse to do that. And I'm saying this, I remember, like, I was like the king of excuses. If something didn't happen or I dropped the ball, it was always a blame game. It was who's the first person I could blame. Well, this person said this, or they didn't do that. No, man, you got to accept it. You can't control the things that you refuse to accept responsibility for.
Absolutely. That's huge. That's a game changer because I see that a lot with my Gen Z crowd too. So what other things can we stack on top of that to kind of break those generational almost curses, if you will?
Yeah, I'm less of a believer in generational curses and more a believer of people just don't have a correct understanding of what it takes to be successful. And they chase these fantasies, like for the kids in the inner cities, they chase being an athlete or a rapper. For other kids, it's, they want to be a YouTuber or, they want to be a social media influencer. Look, dude, if you want to be successful, you need to figure out how to sell stuff. Like if you want the best shot at becoming a millionaire, the number one thing you need to figure out how to do is pick up the phone, call somebody and sell them something. That's the most valuable skill. It's easily learned. I'll never, ever make $100 million playing basketball. Ever. I'll never make $100 million playing golf. There's professional golfers that will never make $100 million. I've got a better chance of making $100 million as a businessman than most professional golfers have of making $25 million in their career. And I think a lot of people don't understand the power of business and the power of the multiplication of your efforts. You could build a business that does, $10 million a year in sales, makes $2 or $3 million a year. If you make $2 million a year, $3 million a year, you're in like the top 0.0001% of people in the country. And then when you go and sell that business, somebody might give you $30 million for it. So like people are chasing all these sexy things, like become a business person, learn how to sell stuff, learn how to take an idea or a product or a service and get it in people's hands. That is, your odds of if you want to be successful, the answer to that question goes into like figuring out your destination too. Like, do you want to be successful? Do you want to make money? If so, how much? Oh, 150 grand a year would be nice. 150 grand a year ain't shit. 150 grand a year, when you make it, you realize how little it is. Just FYI, personal experience. When you get to $1 million a year and you think you've made it, you're going to realize $1 million a year ain't that much money either. Right. And so like a lot of this is breaking down the ideas that you have about what it takes to actually be successful. I just wrote a check today to invest in a real estate deal for $650,000. I've got about $1.2 million cash. Most people think if you have $1 million in cash, you can retire. Like they don't understand the math. Like I'm 37 years old. Like, I don't know, I'll probably live for another 40 or 45 years or 50 years or something like that. $1 million isn't enough. They're saying now most people thought $1 million was what you needed to retire. Now that they're saying that number is 10 million.
Right. Yeah.
So, people just need to start having, number one, an honest question about where they want to go. Oftentimes when people go through that exercise, they figure out that where they want to go, and then how much where they want to go actually costs. They realize that there's a significant difference in their perception of what that costs than what it actually does. So one exercise that I always have everybody do is, spend 2 hours and draw out your ideal life at 55 years old. How much money do you have? Are you passively generating income, or are you working still Monday through Friday? For me, I'm like, man, I'd like to have, 500 grand a month in passive income that I don't have to work for. And I believe that would give me a lifestyle that I can continue to invest. I can go do whatever I want, whenever I want. I'll never have to think about money. And then, so you're like, okay, well, if that's the goal, you want to have these 5 houses in these countries and travel around and do all this cool stuff and have your kids be able to do this or that or the other thing and help your family with da, 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 da. You start figuring out how much all that costs. Then you're like, man, I need to be thinking bigger today. And that's how you give more significance to what you're doing today, is you connect what you're doing today to a future target. But if you don't ever have that future target, you're never going to do the right thing today.
Right. And you're talking about the difference between the effort and our perceived amount of effort. And that is what the 10X makes up for, if that's right.
Yeah. I mean, because it's just like, when you do your math and you say, okay, hey, well, I need to make $100 million or $10 million or $5 million or whatever, multiply that by 10, and then build your plan for that. So it's like, figure out what you want, how much it costs, multiply that by 10, and then have that be your target. And then you got to get creative with how you are doing your life and on a daily basis to get there. So, you should only work for a place for one of two reasons: because you're learning something extremely valuable and significant, or because you're getting paid a lot of money to do it. Notice I didn't say because you love what you do. Loving what you do is not a requirement for success. There's a lot of people that don't love what they do that make a lot of money. And, I'm not saying you need to be miserable your whole life, but if you understand the mission and the target, then whatever it takes to get there. And, if that means that, I have to go be somebody's junior and do menial tasks and shitty work for 2 years, but I get to be in an office environment where I'm around extremely successful people. I'm looking at how they operate. I'm learning how they negotiate deals. I'm seeing how they handle customers, understanding how they navigate through problems or challenges, listening in on how they strategize. Like, people focus on the wrong thing. They focus on the shitty work instead of all of the things they could be learning. And that's a that's that's an issue that comes from your commitment. And, where you get committed, you get more creative. And where you get more committed, opportunities start, revealing themselves. So, this is a marathon, but you got to understand where you want to go and then do the right things in the role that you're in. And if you hate your job right now, then you need to ask yourself, what else can I learn here? Like, forget your emotions. Emotions have no place in business. What is one of our guys says? The only two emotion that you should have in business is celebration and something else. But it's just like they're happy emotions. You shouldn't have anger and, frustration. Like, those shouldn't be associated with business,
Exactly.
So yeah, like, you just have to know that if you clear the table of all of the things that you have in your head or the things that your friends are telling you, and, because who knows what program they're on or what plan they're on. But if you clear the plate of all that and you look at your job right now and you say, if I could learn 3 things here that would be valuable to me later in life, what would they be? Who could I learn from? Who could I learn them from? And then focus on doing that. You should never work somewhere if you're not getting paid and you're not learning anything. But make sure you're not learning anything because there's nothing to learn, and not just because you don't like being there and you're too lazy to look for the opportunity. Because people like that will struggle their entire life.
Exactly. And the last question is, for those that are looking to start that marathon that you were talking about, to kind of wipe their slate clean and to start new, where can they find you, Grant, and all of the training and stuff to get started?
So at Grant Cardone for Grant, at Jarrod Glandt for me, and then sign up for Cardone University. Actually, we have a free program that we put together. It's online. It's called 10xwebclass.com. And it's a free training on kind of some of these money concepts that people have. And it's absolutely free. People can go to 10xwebclass.com to sign up for that.
Absolutely. And is there anything else you'd like to share to people that are 20 years old that are looking to start new? Is there anything that you want to share before?
Think big. Think way bigger than you're thinking right now. Figure out where you want to be when you're 60 years old, what you want your life to look like. If everything were perfect, if everything were ideal, and get specific and spend the time to figure out how much that stuff costs. And then learn to sell, learn to communicate with people, learn to create opportunity out of thin air, learn to connect with people. That is the most valuable skill you can have, is going to somebody that you don't know and getting money from them for something that you have. And if you can do that, then you can literally do anything.